Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is finally going to be my full review of the G Pro Superlight 2 DEX after a month of use. And despite having these three units, this black one which was sent out by Logitech, this white one that is weight modded down to 53 grams, I put most of my time on this pink unit that I did pay for with my own money with stock skates. And yeah, just wanted to really get a feel for this mouse before posting a final review. And I always say the more units of a product that you have, the better the review is going to be. So 3 units, that's a lot of units. That's a very good review that is about to begin. Yeah, when you look at the mouse itself, the DEX is a premium price flagship ergo. The best comparison, as the Honorable Rocket Jump Ninja mentioned, is probably the DeathAdder V3 Pro from a place in the market standpoint, but shape-wise, it's not really a one-to-one clone or just a slightly altered version of the EC base shape. It really is its own unique shape. I did cover that a lot in my initial impressions video. But yeah, just to give a refresher, some shapes that this is similar in design to, I would say, are the Lamzu Thorn and the Vaxi Outset AX, but is by no means a clone of either of those shapes. The Vaxi Outset AX in specific is just a way shorter, stubbier, just completely different feeling mouse in hand. And one thing with the DEX is that everything is very smooth. Even though it looks like it has these aggressive flare outs, they feel very rounded out and curved, I guess would just be a way to describe it, except the front of the mouse, which I find very unique, is essentially just the GPX. And yeah, when you look at the mice from the bottom, obviously the bottom half is going to be way wider compared to the GPX, but the top, it has just that same silhouette, so to speak, and this allows me to use my ring and pinky finger to kind of push the mouse into my hand, and I just get a very stable, comfortable feeling grip. It's something that I've kind of come to appreciate because there is a ton of room on the side, which allows you to kind of place your fingers however you want. What I'm trying to say is that despite all of the differences in the design from the Superlight, I'm still able to apply pressure with my fingers on the right side in the same way and just get a quirk of the GPX design on an ergo shape, and it feels really comfortable in my hand. For people with smaller hands, you're using a small ergo, I really doubt this will be the mouse for you unless you just want something that's going to be bulky, kind of take over your hand for a relaxed grip. So yeah, you can really just see the profile, the length, just the size of these two mice are drastically different. This is, of course, the DeathAdder V3 Hyperspeed, the mini size. So yeah, if you need a mini ergo, this is not going to be it. I doubt they'll ever do a mini version in the future. But yeah, I'll be honest, if you already have something that could be considered a top ergo on the market, I doubt you're going to notice a huge difference in your performance, presuming you have a comfortable grip on all of them. A reason I took so long to test this was because the Vaxi E1 released, and I surprisingly enjoyed this, considering I'm generally not a fan of the EC-inspired shapes, and it is a bit smaller than the DeX, so I took some time, tried to figure out which one I really enjoy, and the answer is both of them. And the same goes for DeathAdder V3. At one point, this was my main mouse for the better part of a year. Then I kind of just stopped using it. I go back on it. I notice the sensor position's low. It is a bit heavier than the DeX, but ultimately, I'm still able to perform more or less the exact same with the DeathAdder V3 Pro. So if you aren't in desperate need of a mouse and you have a top-tier ergo you enjoy, I don't think you, by any means, need to upgrade to the DeX. But yeah, I know there are people who just enjoy testing mice out, or they'll take advantage of Amazon's return policy. So if you just want to try the mouse out, I can assure you, at least on all 3 of my units cases, that the level of quality is high. It's what I expect from a $150+ Logitech mouse. There's absolutely nothing to report with the build, like creaking, rattling, any type of flexing. The sidewalls feel very strong, and the weight is just very well balanced, evenly distributed at the 58 gram weight. One quirk with the mouse design that I just don't really love is the high button height, and it's kind of deceptive because if you look at it compared to the GPX, you might think, oh yeah, it's a little higher, but it's not that bad. But if you aren't pressing at the absolute top of the button, it just gets much higher as you get farther up on the click. So it's one thing, if it was, I'm not asking for extra 5 button height, but just a few millimeters lower, it really feels like I'm raised up off of my mouse pad. You compare that to something like the Vaxi E1, and I guess just the clicks in general were another thing that people were not in love with on this mouse. Logitech's opticals, I guess one reason I didn't find them to be anything out of the ordinary is that I've actually managed to get used to the original GPX2 opticals, which are a very stiff and heavy switch. And when I do compare this to like the average Omron optical, even Razer's pretty mushy, like I don't fucking know what are these, the Gen 3 switches, they're a bit lighter to activate. Logitech, they definitely have like a stiffer, sharp click, but I just can't sit here and call this a heavy click. Like, it's very light to activate, but there is a like strong sense of artificial tactility that you get from Logitech's optical switches. But I don't hate them. Yeah, I really find them to be fine for spamming edits in Fortnite. You see, quality-wise, there is just a little bit of side-to-side play, but that's applying a lot of pressure, really nothing I notice. A little bit of pre-travel, which assists with a lighter click feeling. And yeah, compared to the Vaxi E1 clicks, these are extremely light. Just light as a feather, some would even say. So you're not going to be getting that like mechanical switch experience. Not a lot to complain about with the click implementation. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of unit-to-unit variance. The left and right click seem to take the same amount of force. So Logitech has that dialed in, but it's not like this feels way better than any other click or optical switch on the market. It's satisfactory in my opinion. The side buttons are something that are not satisfactory. This is what Logitech is really known for, having these mushy side buttons, and obviously they function as buttons. But yeah, if you just look at these buttons and listen to them compared to the Death Adder V3 Pro, the DEX just really, it's the opposite of crisp. These buttons, they're very tightly housed. There's not any like pre-travel. It's just a crisp click, and it's so much better quality in my opinion. But Logitech, they just don't care, or they just don't know what it means, because it has not changed since the original G Pro wireless dropped. But yeah, that's just kind of how the side buttons are. The positioning, at first I found them very high, and then I kind of just started to place my thumb higher up on the mouse as I used this mouse more for Fortnite. So yeah, my main two gripes with the design originally were the high side buttons and the high button height, and eventually I really just got used to both of them. There's nothing about the shape of this mouse that I found wrong or off-putting in my hand, and at the end of the day, this is just a really good feeling, high quality mouse, high profile. It kind of forces some stability in the back of your hand, and it's also a well-distributed weight, and I've really been enjoying mice around the 60-gram range. I don't know what it is, from the Viper V3 Pro to like the new Zowie mice, which are a little bit heavier, and yeah, even like the Vaxi E1, just the classic GPX, they're all in this weight range. So I am not obsessed with having the lightest weight ergo on the market, or just claw grip mouse in general. I'm happy to have something a bit larger that works for my hand, doesn't really cut corners anywhere, at a still fucking lightweight 60-gram weight. And again, I have tested a version of this mouse without the power play magnets in the back. It is a few grams lighter, but it just feels, I don't feel like it's necessary to remove that weight. This isn't my unit of choice. It's not like it's a fucking unusable mouse or anything, but yeah, it definitely does feel a bit faster. I'm sure that the aftermarket skates have something to do with that as well. But yeah, just not as well balanced. It feels kind of similar to the Lamzu Thorn's weight balancing, because you can see there's just not much going on towards the back of the mouse except for the battery. And my one thing with the Lamzu Thorn is this is a much wider mouse. Like, it doesn't really get as thin at the grip width and towards the front of the mouse as the DEX does. And I do also prefer the added length that you get with the DEX compared to the Lamzu Thorn. But if I had slightly smaller hands, or if I played palm grip, I think it would really just be a toss-up. And if you're somebody who prefers a lighter mouse with like medium-sized hands, you probably will end up preferring the Thorn. But yeah, I really can't say that one's going to be drastically better or worse than the other. The Thorn obviously has the price edge, but for me personally, I grab the DEX just because it's a better fit for my hand. And yeah, last two things to talk about on the top of the mouse are the scroll wheel and the coating. The scroll wheel is really just your typical Logitech wheel. In a blind test, I really don't think I would be able to differentiate it from just the standard GPX wheel, so there is that much to say. With the coating, it has not decayed at all in the month of use. After 6 months, maybe it would become a bit more moist feeling, but this is definitely one of the more dry rubberized coatings on the market. Definitely not a sweat moisture magnet in my experience. Just a really good, like, top of the line coating. I didn't have any issues using this wireless in my time on the mouse. That kind of brings me to the bottom of the mouse, starting with the stock skates. I don't know why I've kept these on. I'm going to switch it to the core pad, like CNC milled skates whenever I get those, but really, on glass pads, I don't think the stock skates are terrible. On textured pads like the Hien, something like the Lethal Gaming Gear Neptune, just anything with a lot of texture to it, I think will be fine. But on control pads that already have higher initial friction, unless that's what you're going for, like a very high initial friction, it takes a good amount of force to get the mouse moving, I would just advise switching to stock skates. Universal dot skates will fit on this mouse. Something larger like donuts or just large dots won't. But honestly, in the little bit of time you get when the skates are properly broken in until they're like actually paper thin and decayed, they don't feel terrible, especially on this very fast glass pad. Another thing to quickly mention is going to be a sensor. Specifically, I had at least a dozen people mention or comment that they were getting some sensor tracking spin out issues on glass mouse pads. I've tested at least 5 glass pads in my time on this mouse, and I've just never had tracking incompatibility issues on any LOD, gaming surface mode, on any of the 3 units I've had. So I really don't know what to say about that, except for I didn't experience it, and just in general, the wireless was very good on this mouse. I didn't ever bother running 8K hertz, but 2 and 4K, it was good. The battery life, fairly long lasting. I would say on 2K hertz, you're going to get 5 to 7 days of use, maybe even a bit more. But yeah, I'm definitely not thinking about charging this thing like every day or every other day. So yeah, my month plus experiencing the GPX DEX, I've come to the conclusion that it's a really good ergo mouse. Definitely top of the market. It does deserve the seal of approval, even though the side button should be better, but it's not like they ruined the mouse, and it's kind of a feature of Logitech at this point. I'm not saying that this is the only ergo mouse worth getting to throw your money at it, that it's going to be a universally loved shape, but I do think that it's a really good design. Obviously, it's not going to be as universal as the GPX, and some people ask me like which one I think is better, and it's the same internals, it's the same feeling shell, it's just a matter of which shape you're going to prefer. Most people, especially if you have the ambi preference, just stick with the Superlight, but if you are a fan of ergos, this was really Logitech's answer to that. So DEX is something I enjoy, and it has to be up there in the conversation for the top like medium to large size ergos. And it is a mainable mouse, quality, in-hand feeling, intangibles wise. Like, it's something I could use long term. I'm just really not an ergo guy. I would just rather use like the standard GPX, the Viper V3 Pro, the Lamzu Maya X, Zowie S2, just to rattle off a few examples. But if you are somebody who likes ergos, you enjoy having like a bulky, high-profile feeling towards the back, just that larger presence of mouse, yeah, it's one of the best on the market. And presuming you're also somebody who doesn't mind spending a lot of money on a gaming mouse from a company like Logitech, where you obviously will get a good warranty, but yeah, it's still $160 is a lot of money when you can spend like half of that, get an ATK Z1, a Pulsar X Lite. Like, yes, there are many options. But yeah, for me personally, just the existence of a budget market doesn't make me scoff at the idea of premium mice. Like, the truth is, on sub-$100 mice, nothing feels in hand like a Logitech mouse. It's just the truth, and the truth hurts. On that note, that's going to be all for this video. Leave a like and subscribe. Comments, leave them below. Peace.